Hello, ladies and gentlemen, for the last time with feeling, it is the F4 UAE Championship certified by FIA here at the Dubai Autodrome. It's race 4, round 3. Expect the unexpected because this is the reverse grid race. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Sanson and Chris Milbourne once with you as the cars are making their way to the grid, and one of them has got a loose airbox on the way round. The drama has started before the race has even formed up on the grid.
We haven't even done a formation lap either. And Jake, you know what it is? This is the 4th race of the F4 UAE Championship. And you know what that means? We've already had 1, 2, 3 wins for Premier Racing. And that means we're going to have, if history repeats itself, a new team on the top step of the podium. It's been PHM in rounds 1 and 2. But unfortunately for PHM, their highest starter is down in 9th position. Now, Nikita Bedrin is very fast here, and he knows this circuit very well. He's been doing this for, this is his 2nd year in the championship. He did last year's season as well. So if there's anyone on track that knows this track very well, it is Nikita Bedrin. However, he's got 8 more drivers to get through, including Sanapol Intrafavasak, Christian Ho, Alex Dunn, Martina Stenshaw, Andrea Kibi Antonelli, Valerio Rancella, and Suleiman Zanfari, who starts on the front row of the grid here for MP Motorsport. The number 25 will start on the front row of the grid, and I think it's actually another unique front row grid start as well in race number 4.
Well, which car is it that's got a loose airbox? Because that car was... There it is, coming into the pit. It's Brando Badua. Brando Badua is going through the pit lane with a loose engine air cover. So the engine cover basically trying to part company with the car. The mechanic clearly has done its final adjustments and the final place settings, and for some reason it looked to me as though the final little bolt that holds the engine cover in place wasn't quite tightened up. So fortunately they're coming through the pit lane to go around on a 2nd exploratory lap rather than to the starting grid. So that'll be a quick visit to the pits and the mechanics. Brandon Badua, there you go, Brandon Badua's car has pulled up and the crew have put the engine in position, the engine cover in position I should say. Right, that's better. Now you can go around and it won't flap in the breeze.
It's a good thing they called it now, or better you called it now before anyone else did, than they did on the grid, and then at the first lap that would have been absolutely disastrous. Hello everybody and welcome to the chat as well. Great to see you all here. Of course it is now. We're transitioning into the afternoon here in the United Arab Emirates, so the sun is a little bit lower in the sky, which provides a different challenge here in our 4th and final race of the F4 UAE Championship, and this is going to be a good one. The cars have now gone through the pit lane for a 2nd time now, and they'll grid up on the field in their respective positions, and it will be Suleiman Zanfari for the first time this season. He will be starting from pole position, and he's going to have a lot of hard-charging F4 drivers behind him, and let's see what he can do going down towards turn 1 on this opening lap here of the 4th and final race of the weekend of the F4 UAE Championship.
So the cars are basically on their exploratory laps, trying to get themselves back to a good rhythm. I've just about got enough vocal cords left for this last race. Chris, you are going to hold my hand if anything goes wrong, aren't you? So
I'll keep you upright as well.
Absolutely. But we've had so much drama here at the Dubai Autodrome this weekend in all of the categories. The NGK UAE Pro Car Challenge gave us 2 mighty races yesterday. We had epic sprint races followed by a very exciting enduro from the Gulf Radical Cup earlier yesterday and today. And obviously we've had 3 cracking races from the Formula Regional Asian Championship. If you don't want to know what's been going on, if you've missed them, well, head over to the YouTube channels at Formula Regional Asia and Mumbai Falcons and you'll catch all the action, but we won't give you any spoilers. But the F4 UAE Championship has certainly had 3 spectacular races over the course of these first 3 encounters. Yesterday, Rafael Kamara picked up his first victory in the championship after a thrilling battle in race 1. Charlie Wirtz was on the pole position for that. Nikita Bedrin had set the fastest lap, but it was Rafael Kamara who took the win in front of Nikita Bedrin and Charlie Wirtz. And then in race 2, earlier this morning, we had the first win for Charlie Wirtz. The race was stopped under a red flag, but Charlie Wirtz was declared the winner in front of Nikita Bedrin and Aidan Neate. And then earlier on this afternoon, we had an amazing fight between the 2 teammates, Rafael Kamara and Aidan Neate, which almost went down to the wire. And Rafael Kamara was just able to pick up the victory in front of Aidan Neate, with third position again going to Charlie Wirtz, who now leads the Drivers' Championship, 12 points clear of Aidan Neate, who is on 130. Charlie Wirtz obviously is on 142. Taz Intervivazak has now moved into third place in the Drivers' Championship on 118. James Wharton has 110. He's about to be overtaken potentially by Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is on 96. And then Nikita Bedrin is on 93. And Rafael Kamara, with his 2 victories, has moved up to 79 points and is in P7 in the championship. There is Valerio Rinicella, one of the 6 novice drivers this weekend. I say novice drivers, but not all of them are novices to car racing. 6 new faces is a more accurate description and a better way of describing it. And they have been phenomenal this weekend, all 6 of them. We've had Luke Browning, who has battled valiantly over the course of this weekend. He finished second on the road yesterday, only to get a 10-second penalty for overtaking under safety car conditions. Then he got a 5th and a 4th, so he's already scored 22 points from the 2 races today. Christian Ho has done a fair job as well. He's scored 11 points across the 3 races, 10th in race 1 and 5th in race 3. How else have the other new boys been getting on? Well, Valerio Rinicella had no luck at all in the first 2 races, then managed to bring it home for P11 in race 3 earlier on today. Robert De Haan has had a really tricky time of it getting into the car and has managed to finish 3 races but outside the top 10, which is exactly what has happened to Yash Aradia of India in the Mumbai Falcons car, and Jeff Machiels, the Belgian talent, who is taking over from his countryman Gilles Castro in the Pinnacle Motorsport car. So that's the fate of the 6 competitors. There is the 45 of Martinius Stenshorn. He's got a really good chance in this one, having had flashes of greatness and chances to go close to the front end of the field throughout the weekends, but has never quite been able to seal the deal and grab a race victory. But he has come very close over the course of the weekends. His teammates are the Russian female Victoria Blokina and the Singaporean sensation Nikhil Bora, all of whom have come out of karting in the last 3 months. There is the number 4 for the high-tech team. That is Alex Dunn, the Irishman, who has made a great transition from European and world karting to the world of car racing, and he has been one of the most solid competitors in the high-tech team. If anyone from high-tech is going to get the win in this one, Chris, this time it could be the Irishman. It
certainly could be, and I saw 2 interesting comments on the live stream. One of them was top picks of who's going to win this one. Now, I'm going to say it's quite difficult. Now, we do have a Prema, or assistant team for the Prema, at least in the top 3. We've got Andrea Kimi Antonelli. They have certainly been the team to beat throughout the championship, and it's also PHM come to life in the 4th and final race as well. But this driver right here, Christian Ho, has been very fast this weekend. One of the rookie drivers, as Jake said before. He's certainly one to watch out for. But I'm going to say Luke Browning, because he was exceptionally fast from the get-go. He finished 2nd in the first race he was here in F4 in the United Arab Emirates. It's a brand new track for him as well, and he's just gelled to it so fast. He adapted so quickly. I think this is the one that Luke Browning is going to get.
He's definitely going to have to work hard to get it. There's no 2 ways about it, because he'll start the race, from 8th position on the grid after finishing P5 in the earlier encounter. So he's going to have a tough time of it. But the cars in front of them have not really been able to make good use of their finishes towards the podium. Suleiman Zanfari will be the one who starts from pole position. He is adamant that he is going to beat the Premas this year. This is his best chance to win an F4 UAE race. And if I know the Moroccan anywhere near as much as most of the competitors on the grid do, then he is definitely going to be a worthy adversary. Second on the grid, Valerio Rinicella. This is a chance to redeem himself from this point of view. There's Aidan Neate, alongside him his race engineer Matt Parry. And it's going to be very interesting to see how those 2 make progress up through the field. Aidan Neate will start 11th on the grid, having finished 2nd, only just to his teammate, the Brazilian Rafael Kamara, who will go off P12 on the starting grid. A lot of work for him to do, but it is doable. Now, a lot of people will be saying the man in 3rd on the grid, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, has the best chance to win. On paper, yes, but over the course of this weekend, he hasn't gelled altogether too well with the Dubai Autodrome circuit compared to how he ran at Yas Marina. He's been on the back foot since the first practice session.
He certainly has, and we haven't seen the same runs that he had a couple of weeks ago down at Yas when running the full GP circuit. Of course, running the full GP circuit here at the Autodrome, but he just hasn't been able to connect with the track. Of course, last week we ran the international circuit, but Kimi Antonelli was not with us there. But this weekend, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be clicking for him whatsoever. But this could be his best chance. Starting in 3rd position, he's on the inside of row 2. Is he now? Is he facing our position? No, he's not. He's actually on the outside position. He's by the grandstand side, isn't he? Because he's behind Zanfari with Martini Stenchorn just alongside him there. But this could be his chance to score a win for Prema yet again in his return to the F4 UAE Championship.
Now, an interesting question which I would like to discuss has come up on the YouTube stream. Formula One Mapper has written, since Antonelli has been off pace all weekend, was Abu Dhabi a fluke? An interesting argument. I will refute it to my reputation. It is absolutely not a fluke. I've been watching Andrea Kimi Antonelli for several years in the world of karting. He was able to take on drivers several years his senior in the junior and senior categories. He was the double European karting champion over the last couple of years. He scored a pole position on his first ever outing in a KZ in the European Karting Championship last season when he was barely old enough to be allowed to race the kart. Now, the most recent performance like that in gearbox karting of the same ilk was Max Verstappen back in 2013, and he seems to have turned out all right for himself. So I doubt that Andrea Kimi Antonelli's performance in Yas Marina was a flash in the pan. If anything, it was proof that he's a mental talent for the future. However, what you've got to take into account is that Dubai and Yas Marina could not be two dissimilar race circuits. You have got to be so supreme in both environments, and the temperature and the wind keeps changing here this weekend, so it's difficult to get a handle on it. The reason his teammates have done a better job of it this weekend than he has is because they were all on track last week and Andrea Kimi Antonelli was not.
Yeah, so all they have to learn is that first sector to the left hand of turn 2 and then all the way through to turn 9. That's the only thing that they have to do, and Antonelli has to learn the entire track from scratch, giving his teammate the upper hand here. So we're about to get underway shortly for the formation lap as the final personnel for the F4 UAE Championship are being cleared. There's a few race engineers still on. Of course, they were the ones to start the F4 UAE Championship cars here before we get underway. So we're moments away here from starting the fourth and final race of the weekend. This is going to be a very, very exciting one here. As the sun begins to set, the track begins to cool as well. There's more shade on the front at the starters here as well. I think it's towards the mid-pack where the shade is now covering it. So it's going to offer a unique challenge here as well. See spots of batteries all over the place to get ready to start these cars.
Now, the question that's come up on the stream is, when is lights out? Well, the 3-minute board has gone up to clear the grid, and any moment now the 1-minute board will go up to remove the remaining mechanics from their cars. So that is very much imminent, and we're going to start the fourth and final race of the weekend. So, DMHXWX asks, who's got the upper hand today? So far, it has been about the Brazilian Rafael Camara, who over the course of the 3 races has been the most consistent, but this is the reverse grid race, so all bets are off. And in pole position is Suleiman Zanfari from the Italian star Valerio Renicella, who is in his first ever car racing weekend. So the very fact that he's up at the sharp end is very impressive, even though that means obviously he was 11th in the race earlier on today, but he's never been down at the back as Valerio Renicella. This is his first entry in car racing of any kind, so F4 UAE is very much his debut in car racing, and it would be very easy for a new driver to be struggling at the back of the grid. Not Valerio Renicella. He's been towards the top 10 in terms of one-lap pace all weekend, so he's definitely one to watch. He could even win this race.
And he's starting from the front row of the grid as well. He is on your left-hand side of the picture there. The right-hand side is where Zanfari is, but Renicella has got the perfect line now down towards turn 1 when we get going here. Now, of course, the grid is being cleared. The engines have been fired up now. We're going to start the formation lap. We'll bunch up and then we'll slot into grid positions once again. But that man on the left-hand side of your screen, Renicella, needs the start, and he needs the perfect start as well to get it ahead of Zanfari. And he needs to ensure that that line is blocked because he has the inside line going down towards turn 1 because it is a right-hander. Now, again, we have up to 31 cars. We had a little bit of let's say incidences during race 3 where we saw a number of cars unfortunately not finish the race. When the green light is on or the road lights go off, and if they don't, then they're going to have an issue. Now, Looks like Miran Pingasov just has gone across the line slowly, so not the best getaway there before the start of the formation lap. Let's hope he gets it going when we go green flag racing for the first time here in the final race of the weekend for the F4 UAE Championship.
So here is the rundown of the 31 drivers that will be racing in this last race of the weekend. Suleiman Zanfari and Valerio Rinicella will be on the front row of the grid. Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Martinius Stenshorn will be on the second row. Alex Dunn and Tazanapol Interfivazak will be on row 3 from Christian Ho and Luke Browning on row 4. Rounding out the top 10, it is Nikita Bedrin and the championship leader, Charlie Wirtz. Then it is Aidan Neat, the man second in the championship, alongside his teammate, Rafael Camara. Ivan Dominguez will line up 13th, along with Ricardo Scotto, and then Brando Badua will line up 15th on the grid along with Nikhil Bora. Then Vladislav Ryabov will be beside Sohail Shah. Jamie Day lines up 19th on the grid alongside Jonas Reed, and then Anshul Gandhi will be beside Joseph Loke. Robert Dehaan will be beside Jem Bedombakti, and then Yash Aradja, Jeff Makiels, Ismail Ahmed, Victoria Blokina, and the retirements from race 3, Taylor Barnard, Miron Pingasov, and Michael Shin. They will be fighting their way back through the field. How far can Taylor Barnard, the race 4 winner in Yas Marina, climb from 29th on the grid?
Well, getting a win will be very difficult, and of course he's starting on that right-hand corner as well in turn 16, so he's going to need to ensure that the drivers in front of him get a good start, and he has to react pitch perfect. He needs to do it exactly when he needs to do it to ensure that he can carve his way through the field. So let's see how this goes, because the formation lap is about to come to a close. We're working our way now through the third and final sector here on the formation lap. We're looking at one of the Mumbai Falcons with XL Motorsport cars there. Now that is a bit further down the field. Now, is that the number 17 that we just had a quick look at? I think it was.
So that would be Yash Aradja, one of the Mumbai Falcons drivers that are taking up residence in the XL Motorsport camp in F4 UAE. And Yash Aradja is in his first race weekend. Sohail Shah is in his third. So they are making good progress. But they come now to the starting grid, and it's going to be Suleiman Zanfari, the young Moroccan sensation, who will start from pole position. This is going to be a tough race for him. There is no two ways about it, but he knows how to win on this street, because on the other side of the road from here is the Dubai Kartdrome, where he won the Dubai O-Plate 2 years ago, giving the Charles Leclerc karting chassis its very first international race victory. So Suleiman Zanfari knows how to get the job done in Dubai. A couple of 100 meters away from here 2 years ago, he was a champion. So can he get a race victory? Alongside him, Valerio Rinicella, who wants to put on a show. Andrea Kimi Antonelli wants to make it another victory for Prema. Can they win all 4 races? We've had 2 for Rafael Camara and 1 for Charlie Wirtz so far this weekend. But with Antonelli in third, there's a good chance that Prema could take it all in much the same way that another team has taken all of the victories in Formula Regional Asian this weekend, namely the Mumbai Falcons. So, is this going to be a great race from the start for Zanfari? What can Rinicella do from top 2? There is Antonelli, third on the grid in the Prema with a black engine cover. And then in fourth is Vladislav Ryabov. Fourth is Martinius Stenshorn. Then Alex Dunn, Tazan Interfivazak, Ho, Browning, Bedrin, Wirtz, Neat and Camara. All bets are off. The green flag flies at the back of the grid. The lights come on and we're ready to race for the last time here in Dubai in F4 UAE. Ready? Let's go! Great start from the front as Valerio Rinicella drops it. There's a couple of stallers at the back, but Zanfari is desperately trying to keep his position as Martinius Stenshorn takes the lead. The Norwegian is in front. Martinius Stenshorn has come through, and so has the fast-starting Luke Brown. No, that's not. That's his teammate. That is Alex Dunn, who's going round the long way. Luke Browning is in the middle. He's made Antonelli go out wide. So Antonelli drifts wide. He's going to have to cut back in the middle of the pack and give up some positions.
He's going to have to concede those positions back, but a fantastic start there for Martinius Stenshorn. He got it exactly right, and he saw the gap, and he took it. He noticed that Rinicella did not get the start that he wanted, and Martinius Stenshorn just went, right, this is mine, I'm taking it, goodbye, off I go. And, of course, around the outside there was interesting there, how they didn't keep off, how they kept off one another. Fantastic stuff there. It looks like actually Stenshorn's lost the lead. Now, is that Alex Dunn who has taken the lead? He has as well. The Irishman is out in front here as he is leading the pack down towards turn 10 here for the first time, and he's now starting to put a gap between himself and Stenshorn here. We've got Kimi Antonelli tucked in behind them for the time being, and the Prema cars are coming though hard and fast here as we're down towards turn 10 as Martinius Stenshorn goes defensive.
That is Browning trying to go side by side with one of the Premers, and there is not a lot of room to maneuver as they come off the turn. It's going to be wheel-to-wheel stuff all the way through this pack. Look at the squabble as Browning now heads it with Charlie Wirtz trying to get in the mix, and Suleiman Zanfari's in there. So too is the 14, his teammate in the MP Motorsport car, Tazid the Fuvazak. They all squabble away for positions as they come off the turn, and it's going to be absolute skittles down to the braking zone as they are going to squabble all the way. Aidan Neat, that is, trying to come around the outside of Tazid the Fuvazak, and he's gone off the road onto the sand and dust. He rejoins on the far side, having not lost too much ground, but somehow Luke Browning is still at the head of this incredible train as they come out of 15 down towards the final turn, and it's Alex Dunn leading, Stenchon second, Antonelli is third, and then Luke Browning ahead of Charlie Wirtz and Suleiman Zanfari with wheel-to-wheel stuff between Tazid the Fuvazak and Aidan Neat. The championship contenders behind Charlie Wirtz are battling away side by side.
And it's incredible to see what happens offline. As soon as you go where no car has been before, there is so much sand and there's so much dust that just get picked up immediately. The drivers have gone offline here need to be very careful because, of course, they picked up that on their hot, sticky rubber tyres, and if they get it wrong, they're going to be sliding all over the place. How Aidan Neat is still running where he is absolutely incredible. All that dust that he picked up as well must be awful for him at the moment there, as that's Sanapol in Thravasak by the looks of it, being run out to the inside of the corner, bouncing all over the curbs, but he manages to stay out in front for the time being. But it is now out in front. Well, my screen is showing me Suleiman Zanfari still there. It's not, is it? It's Alex Dunn who leads by Martini Stenstrom, and it's Andrea Kimi Antonelli who runs in third, and Luke Browning is up into fourth position. Charlie Wirtz up into fifth. Suleiman Zanfari unfortunately down to sixth position. Aidan Neat is seventh. Sanapol and Thravasak is eighth. Nikita Bedrin is ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is who started on the front row of the grid is Valerio Rancella. Unfortunately, he's lost heaps of position. He's lost 8 places on the opening lap here. It is not going Rancella's way at all here at the Dubai Autodrome, as Alex Dunn now continues to extend his gap from Martini Stenstrom. It's up to 1 second now, but it's 14th of a second back to Antonelli here, who is in third position. Luke Browning is a further 2.4 seconds, and he's got the rest of the field in its entirety behind them, because not a single car when they came across the line was separated by over, by the looks of it, 0.5 of a second. Oh no, we've got 0.8 of a second gap. So no one had a gap higher than 0.8 of a second, as they're all over the place going through turn 12.
Yeah, it's absolute pandemonium here in the F4 UAE Championship. Everybody wants to finish strong and on high. That looks like Sohail Shah trying to pick up a place or two in the middle of the pack as he goes wheel to wheel. He's actually battling with several drivers, including his teammate Yasha Raja as they came across the line last time by. Joe Loke is in the mix in that, as is Robert DeHaan and Jonas Reed, with Taylor Barnard trying to pick off places. He's already made up 6 positions by the look of it, and still there are battles as Anshul Gandhi goes wheel to wheel there. So they are going to make a very exciting race of it. Hopefully they are all going to get to the finish of the race this time and give us an absolute show. But it's done. Antonelli, Stenchon, look at them all swamp across to the inside line. This is an absolute dogfight between them all. Excellent motorsport, great racing. You can see the 2 Mumbai Falcons battling away there. That is Sohail Shah and Yasha Raja getting in there with Brando Madura and Joe Loke, and that is Aragia having to take to the escape route as he goes round. He's going to lose a couple more positions, so he won't gain the advantage, but that shows you how close and how frenetic the race battles are in F4 UAE. And I am told that Antonelli has got through into second place. He's got past Martini Stenchon, so Antonelli is now a second back from the high-tech driver Alex Dunn, who is trying to bring them a victory. Oh, 2 cars sliding wide there on the exit of 7. Couldn't quite make out who that was. Oh my goodness, that's 3 cars come together. We're going to be under safety car here. That's Anshul Gandhi, Vladislav Ryabov, and who else is that? That is Victoria Blokina. So again, Blokina and Gandhi have had an incident side by side. This is going to be down to the braking zone. That is a Prema. That's Aidan Neat dueling with Suleiman Zanfari. Safety car, safety car. So the safety car is being called because we've got 3 cars stationary out on the circuit. So that is going to be the call. We've got 3 cars here. Oh, it's red flag. I've got a red flag being waved there. So it's red flags. Red flags. The race is being stopped.
Because we didn't see any safety car, we didn't see the safety car board or the yellow flag coming here in marshal post number 1. But yes, that's a great call there from the officials, because that's right in the centre of, I think that's turn 5 where that's happened.
Yes, it is.
And there is the red flag that's come up on the pit lane side there. So great news for Alex Dunn, because he's got his job done. But however, he's got Kimi Antonelli behind him by a second. Now, Martinez Central lost out. He's in 3rd position. Luke Browning is 4th. Charlie Wirtz rounds out the top 5. And we're going to see if we can get a replay of what happened there with the 3 cars tangling through Sector 1 here on lap number 3. And that was towards the tail end of the field here in the F4 UAE Championship. Now, a few cars have interestingly come into the pit lane. One has decided to stop on track. Now, that looks like Alex Dunn's car. Yes, it is. So Alex Dunn has stopped on the grid. The rest of the field have come into the pit lane. Jake, what's going on here?
That's very unusual. Yes, Alex Dunn has stopped out on the start-finish line. So that's very unusual. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. All the other cars have reported to the pits. So I would suspect that we're going to have a very interesting few shots with Alex Dunn trying to get back into his position at the start of the race. The start of the queue again. So very interesting battle, but all 3 of the drivers have got out of their cars. But I think it makes a lot of sense actually to throw a red flag, because the problem is you've got the alternative, which is sit behind the safety car for a long time. We haven't got any other races after this one. There is Alex Dunn, who has stopped out on the circuit. Everybody else has come into the pits. Poor Alex Dunn must be thinking, did I do something wrong here?
I can't imagine what's actually going through his head, because now he's looking at the wall, and I think there's just gone one of the cars that was actually in the incident. That was, I think, the Sohail Shah car that's just come in.
Anshul Gandhi.
Sorry, Anshul Gandhi, who's just come in, because I noticed on this picture here, he was on the left-hand side, but he actually left the scene. So that's good that his car has got going again. So we're down, unfortunately, 2 cars here. As we can see in the centre of your picture there, you can see both drivers are looking at what's happened here. The great news is that both of them are okay, and they've gotten out of the car under their own power, which is always what we love to see here. As you see, the marshals are on the scene to do the recovery effort for these 2 cars. But Alex Dunn, I can't imagine what's going through his head. He is the race leader on our timing screens. Technically, he is the pole sitter as well. However, we're under the red flag conditions, and the entirety of the field is in the pit lane. However, Alex Dunn is not.
You always have trouble finding a decent parking space. On Sundays, it's always easier, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, here he's got a lot of space. He's got nothing to worry about behind him or in front of him. But, yeah, it's a very bizarre incident here as Alex Dunn is there. I think he probably wondered, why is the recovery truck driving past me? Shouldn't he have gone the other way around? And I mean, where's everybody else?
I don't mean to be insensitive here, but it's kind of a Hungary 2021 flashback in a way, isn't it? Because there's only 1 car on the starting grid. But, yeah, Alex Dunn will hopefully be able to take his position back at the front of the queue. I have a feeling he'll be wheeled into place by the marshals. They will obviously put him back into position at the front of the queue. So let's have a look at the replay, because we think we've got a replay of the start. So let's have a look at what happened at the very beginning. This is Anfari trying to pull across, but look at Stenshorn. Stenshorn has made an absolute lightning bolt move as he gets through on the inside line. You've already got pressure from Alex Dunn trying to come through on the inside line. He then switches back to the outside. Watch Browning. He's just suddenly going to brake so much later and split the 2 on the inside line there. Antonelli goes around the outside. He has nowhere to go, so he takes to the escape route. It's very dramatic as they battle away for position. Now, interestingly, looking at the regulations, Alex Dunn is the only one to have actually done the correct thing, because all cars should have actually stopped on the grid. That is the procedure for a red flag during the race. So 1 car decided to come into the pit lane and all the rest of them have followed. So in actuality, people laughing at Alex Dunn, he's the only one to have done the right thing.
Very, very true. So his is not the bizarre incident. The other one is.
And everybody else coming in is, yes.
Isn't the game follow the leader? Now, why haven't they followed the leader onto the grid?
That's a very good point.
Alex Dunn is there, all smiles lonesome. He's done the right thing. He's put his car exactly where it needs to be. He's put it on pole position for the restart. However, Kimi Antonelli brought the entirety of the field with him, and it seems to be they said, okay, well, if he's doing it, we're going to do it as well. So we have clarification of what's going on, as we're still looking at a replay here of the race start. That was Kimi Antonelli, and here we go. Here are the 3 cars tangled up, Jake.
Yep, and that's what brought out the red flags. So back to live pictures. Alex Dunn, well, he's sitting there going, well, this is what's in the rule book. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to bring my car onto the grid. Everybody else has brought their car into the pits. Now, that is not what's meant to happen. So a bit of a confusing situation here now for the teams. They've all come into the pits, but they're all supposed to be on the start line. One car decided to come in, and everybody else has decided to come into the pits. A bit of a strange situation, but everybody deciding to follow the car that is in front of them. So a very strange situation.
I can imagine
yep, very
the clerk
bizarre.
of the course now has a lot to go through now. He's got a lot of paperwork to skim through, stamp and sign, because we're not talking about 1 to 2 cars that got in. We're talking about
all but one.
27-ish cars, I think 28 cars that have
28 cars,
done that.
Essentially. Yeah, they've all come into the pits. So very interesting, very strange situation. Well, at least the drivers that were involved in the incident are going to be brought back in. Victoria Blokina remains in her car, and she is going to help it come back. Whereas the damage to Vladislav Ryabov means that he is going to bring his car, the recovery crew are going to bring his car back. He's going to be a passenger in the recovery truck. There is Robert Dehaan. There is the 55 in behind him. That is Miron Pingazov. So Miron Pingazov is trying to make up progress through the field. We're under red flags here. If you've only just joined us, there's been an incident in the race which has been between Anshul Gandhi, Vladislav Ryabov and Victoria Blokina. It brought out the red flags. But we have a slightly bizarre situation here because the regulations state that under a red flag, you park your cars on the start-finish line, and only the race leader, Alex Dunn, there he is, has adhered to that. All the others came into the pits, led in by Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And so we've got 28 cars in the pit road, 1 on the circuit, and the 1 on the circuit is the one that got it right.
And, well, Alex Dunn may have thought, oh, have I done something wrong here? Why has everyone else gone through? And now he knows, well, he's probably been informed by the team that you've done the right thing. However, everyone else has done the wrong thing. So
what does Andrea Kimi Antonelli think? Have I just messed up the whole race for everybody?
He's going to have his own take on it, is he? Because, well, it's the red flag. I should be cautious of the other drivers out there and the recovery crew. So I came into the pit lane and just, it's not my fault that everyone else followed me through. It's just, that's how it is. And I see that Craig Thompson, one of the guys from F4, is on the track as well. He is checking out the stupendous grid that we have here with just the single car that's on track at the moment.
Well, one of our eagle-eyed viewers, Sialfred Herm, has been consulting the rule book. I always love it when someone consults the rule book. It says, when the signal is given, overtaking is forbidden, the pit exit will be closed, and all cars must proceed slowly to the starting grid. The first car to arrive on the grid should occupy pole position, and others should fill the remaining grid positions in the order they arrive. If the race is suspended during a safety car intervention and the safety car is directed into the pit lane, cars should stop in a line behind the safety car in the fast lane of the pit. So that's kind of the reason why the F4 drivers have got confused here, because so many times we've had a red flag off a safety car. So the safety car has been called, and then they've decided to red flag it because it's more severe than they first thought, and they've brought them into the pits. This is the first time it's gone straight to a red flag. So as a result, they're all used to going into the pits, but obviously they were supposed to go onto the start-finish line. A very interesting situation, but Alex Dunn is the one who called it right. And, yeah, very interesting situation. So I have a feeling they're going to have to neutralise it by basically just sending Alex Dunn down the straight behind, I'm guessing, the safety car, because they might do a safety car restart, and then all the others will just have to follow in behind him to join up once again.
But of course, I can see now the team might have something to say about this, because we can see there's a lot of work and there's a lot of communication going on for the cars that are actually parked in the pit lane. Now, of course, for Alex Dunn, it doesn't seem to be the same case. Yes, there's some tools behind the car, but of course, they're not doing anything on the car itself. Now, another interesting thing I saw here pop up as well, someone asked, wasn't the safety car board shown and the yellow flags? Now, from our position, we can just about see marshal post number 1. We didn't see a yellow flag, nor did we see the SC board come out either. We presumed it might have happened because of the incident. However, we never saw a yellow flag, nor were there any yellow flags waving at any point at the marshal post. We were still racing towards turn 12, and that means the red flag actually came out immediately. So via the rulebooks, Alex Dunn did the right thing.
Now, the question is going to be, what will High-Tech GP's take on it? B, will they say, well, he's the only one who didn't break the rules? Does that mean he wins now? Does that mean he's not going to get a penalty and everybody else is? This will be a fascinating situation, and I'm sure that the relevant powers that be will go into that in fine detail with a fine-tooth comb. But certainly for Alex Dunn, it's pretty spot on as far as he's concerned. Now, for those who are worried about the time left in the race, Don't rely on what the timing screen says, because that's an automated system. It will reset. The race is going to restart with 19 minutes and about 40 seconds or so left. So we're actually going to have 19 minutes of racing when we restart, not 9. Now, the reason, obviously, that we're a little bit delayed in restarting is because we have this little bit of confusion. Because Alex Dunn is on the circuit, everyone else is in the pit lane, because Andrea Kimi Antonelli assumed they would have to come into the pits. That wasn't the case. Everybody just followed the car in front of them. And Alex Dunn, who is left alone on the starting grid with his mechanic, is very, very confident because he knows, well, I did exactly what I was supposed to do. That's exactly what the rule book says. And
he's just been joined by the BMW safety car as well.
There you go.
This is going to be interesting. Now, as Jake said, does the field now take Alex with him? Or
it's come up on the timing screen. All cars except car 4 to report to the stewards for the breach of Article 39.3 in sporting regulations. So when this race is over, everybody except Alex Dunn will have to go see the stewards. So Alex Dunn will be sat on his own in pit lane with nobody to play with, nobody to talk to.
It's going to be a driver's briefing, but the other way round, isn't it? There's 28 drivers that now need to report to the steward's office after this race. Getting out of this booth here, Jake, is going to be near impossible. There's going to be drivers all over the place.
Yeah, I think we'll have to take the lift somehow. I don't think we're going to be able to walk down the stairs. Dear, oh dear. What a strange situation. This is the thing. You don't need to write comedy in motorsport. Occasionally, it writes itself. But Alex Dunn has done exactly the right thing, and he's the only one now who won't have to report to the stewards. Well, we know who we're having a green tea with later, don't we? We're going to have it with Alex Dunn. There's not going to be any other drivers to choose from.
And, red flag still out at the moment, Alex Dunn. You can see on the right-hand side of your pictures, underneath the starting gantry, he is the man that was out in front when the red flag came out. And he's one of the only drivers, he is the only driver to actually have got it right here when the red flag came out. So he'll continue sitting there until we get the race restarted. I can imagine there's a few officials actually walking up and down the pit lane and communicating with the teams. I think I can see a handful of them actually there that will need to inform the teams what's going on here. Now, it looks like the marshals are being ordered to clear off the side of the pit wall. So are we going to go racing soon?
Now, spare a thought in this bizarre and very obscure situation for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Spare a thought for him in this, because essentially he has come into the pits, led everybody in, and now everybody's going to have to report to the stewards. So Andrea Kimi Antonelli, it's a slight error in judgment on his part, but at the same time, you know, if people know what the rule book says, they would all have gone round to the start-finish line. So I suppose the excuse that, well, I was just following the guy in front, that doesn't really, that doesn't really justify you. I mean, you can all say, well, the lemming fell off the cliff, so I just decided to go with it. You know, it doesn't really stand up as an argument. So an interesting one. We will go racing again. We will restart, and we will have 19 minutes and 40 seconds or so of racing once we restart. But Alex Dunn is going to have a very peaceful evening, no matter what happens in this evening of racing here at Dubai Autodrome, because he will not have to visit the stewards at the end of racing.
Now, in terms of timing, now we know that the screen is frozen. As soon as the red flag came out, we froze everything. However, technically speaking, Alex Dunn has not gone past the start-finish line yet.
No.
So if we go to green flag racing, it should show that Kimi Antonelli and the rest of the field will be in front of him. So now this is going to take a little bit more sorting out here. I presume what's going to happen now is the safety car is going to pick up Alex Dunn. They're going to drive down past the exit of pit lane. They're going to pick up the rest of the field, and then there's going to be some conundrums going on, and there's going to be all sorts of movement and shaking on the timing screens in front of us, Jake, here, to sort out who should be where. Okay, well, this is a lot easier to figure out because it should be 27 cars behind Alex Dunn.
And before anybody decides to leap to the attack here and have a go at drivers and blame them and chastise them for making a mistake, can I just remind everybody that these guys are 15, 16, 17 years old. You know, they are teenagers. They are still in school. They are still learning. They are allowed to make mistakes. I think you can give them a little bit of grace for getting it wrong a couple of times in their career. Rather they did this here than in Formula One, you would probably say. But try not to chastise guys for making a mistake. It's what humans do.
Of course it is, and it is a learning process as well for these young drivers, these young men and women here, who are climbing the ranks of these single-seater categories here and always looking for the bigger picture for Formula One. So they come into these series and they learn a lot about the way motorsport works, of course, how cars work and everything like that, and of course championships, so on and so forth. So of course these things are to be expected at times. 28 of these is a little bit of a kind of a different thing that we've probably not seen here before. But nonetheless, it does happen from time to time, and it's just, well, they just got caught out by the moment, essentially. But it looks like we're about to get ready to go. It looks like the engineers are about to get ready to refire the cars here. So it'll be interesting to see now who the safety car picks up. It should be Alex Dunn, and he should be taken past the exit of the pit lane. And behind him, it should be Andrea Kimi Antonelli. But only time will tell here, as we're about to get underway shortly for this brief red flag.
So we are going to go racing again. If you've just joined us, we're under red flag conditions here in the F4 UAE Championship. Race 4, round 3. Jake Sanson and Chris Milbourne up here in the commentary box with you as we close out this Dubai race weekend. There'll be another one next week on exactly the same circuit, on exactly the same layout. And there'll be 4 more F4 UAE Championship races, as well as some Formula Regional Asian Championship, and the Asian Le Mans will be in town. So all will be very exciting next week, I'm sure. We have a very bizarre situation here under red flag, an incident that took place in the opening couple of laps of racing between Victoria Blakina, Anshul Gandhi and Vladislav Ryabov brought out the red flags instantly. So Alex Dunn, who was leading the race, brought the field around, and instead of going into the pits, he went onto the track, as he is supposed to do, and obviously stopped on the starting grid, which is what you're supposed to do. Andrea Kimi Antonelli misinterpreted it by the look of it and came into the pits to queue up in the pit lane. And unfortunately, the driver's mentality of follow the leader meant that everybody decided to just follow Andrea Kimi Antonelli into the pit lane. And unfortunately, it now means that all of the cars still running, except for the race leader Alex Dunn, have breached Article 39.3 of the sporting regulations, and all of them will have to report to the stewards after the race, except for Alex Dunn.
Now, the race isn't over because, of course, we threw the red flag. We've just elapsed around 6 minutes of racing, so we still have plenty of time left on the clock. We have under 20 minutes remaining on the clock here for the restart. However, we're going to start chasing the sun now, because, of course, it is now slowly becoming night, so you can see now the sun is dipping lower in the sky. There is more shade on the track as well, so it's going to add more of a challenge. So it'll be interesting to see. We need to get this race started sooner rather than later. And you know what else I've noticed, Jake, is that we do not have a Prema or a sister team from Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema out in front. We have a high-tech GP car. Now, it's not a PHM car, who in the past have actually won both race 4s in both Yas and here at the Dubai Autodrome. We may have a new team winner here this weekend. It'll be the 3rd one as well in, it's hard to imagine, almost 12 races.
Well, that's absolutely true. And to be fair, we're going to have, if it goes the way we think it's going to go, with Alex Dunn taking the lead into turn 1 and potentially disappearing, we're not sure how the restart of this race is going to go. I mean, it could be Alex Dunn on his own at the start, and then the rest of the field may have to start from the pit lane. I don't actually know what's going to happen here. We're going to have to clarify that. Someone's going to have to consult the rule book and figure out what to do in this situation. I've never been in this situation before, and I'm sure you haven't either, Chris. So we're going to have to try and figure out on the fly what is actually going to happen. But if Alex Dunn were to take the victory in this race, no matter what the situation were to play out and how it were to transpire, then we would indeed have the first 3 races of a weekend won on the road by a Prema, followed by a different team in the 4th race. Tradition would continue.
It would, certainly, although we won't get the same team, but we can't count it just yet. We still do have 20 minutes of the race, and Nikita Bedrin is still within the top 10. He could get his 2nd victory of the season as well, as he is currently in. Now, where is Nikita Bedrin on track, or better yet, in the pit lane? He's currently showed his 9th position at the moment, just in front of race 1 and race 3 winner Rafael Kamara, who's in 10th position when the red flag came out here. But no, this is a very interesting one. Now, Jake, you said something about the Alex Dunn car following suit behind the safety car. Now, do you think that when the safety car goes through past the pit exit, do you think they're going to pick them up then, or do you think he's going to get one lap around and then get picked up?
Well, technically speaking, every other car in the race has transgressed against the regulations. So, you know, you're not supposed to go against the rule book. There are no excuses. You can't just say, well, I followed the guy into the pits, so that's why I broke the rules. You still broke the rules. So is there going to be a bizarre situation where Alex Dunn will be allowed to take the start on his own, drive past the pits, and then everybody else will just have to filter out in single file formation? It's genuinely possible. I don't know. I genuinely don't know on this occasion.
if that's the case, it's great news for Alex Dunn because he'll have an entire lap between himself and the rest of the field. But of course, that is to be confirmed. We have to wait to find out what's actually going to happen here. As you can see on the left-hand side of your pictures, in the centre of the pictures there, you can see 27 Formula 4 UAE Championship cars parked in the exit of pit lane. And of course, there is one single car on pole position on track. That, of course, is the Kitec GP car of Alex Dunn, who's patiently waiting, and he's patiently done the right thing as well. And I can imagine he seems to be just getting in the zone. He seems to be quite focused there. He's got his team engineer with him as well, who'll be talking to him and keeping him busy as well, because of course you don't want to be left alone on the front row of the grid. You want to see more cars around you, but I think for Alex Dunn it's also a plus because he is the only one that's on the track.
This is such a bizarre situation. I've never known anything quite like this before in motorsport, where you've got one car sat on the starting grid where it's supposed to be, and every other car has peeled off into the pits in breach of Article 39.3 in the sporting regulations of the F4 UAE Championship. Genuinely, I couldn't tell you what is going to play out next. We're going to have to figure it out, and obviously we will refer back to it. I mean, this is going to go down essentially as one of those weird motorsport tales that you always talk about. You know, those moments where you had the spectator run across the road during the 2000 German Grand Prix and through a safety car, and then Barrichello could come through and take a race win. The World Touring Car race where the mayor of Po took over the safety car and accidentally drove it into the race leader, causing absolute chaos. This is going to go down as one of those weird motorsport stories you talk about in the pub at the side of the racetrack for years on end.
And it's certainly going to be a highlight as well of this season. We had that 0.003 of a second win, Danny Ass, in the very first race between three cars. But now we're also going to have 27 cars in the pit lane with one starting after a red flag period here at the Dubai Autodrome. This, of course, is race 4 of the Formula 4 UAE Championship. This is the fourth and final race of the weekend. We'll be doing 4 more races next week right here at the Dubai Autodrome, and we're doing the same track configuration as well. And while we're still waiting for the go-ahead to go racing again, let's have a quick look at who is where in the championship for the time being. It should be Charlie Wirtz who's out in front. Indeed it is, with 142 points, and he's clear by 12 points.
Watching along on the stream is Mum Elizabeth Dunn over in Ireland, and she's written, "I have no words." She is stressed to the max out in Ireland, and she says, "Thank you for explaining it. Not nervous at all." No, I'm not. I can imagine not. Waiting for the potential first victory for Alex Dunn, the Irish star in F4 UAE. We have no idea at this point how this is going to play out. This is properly confusing now because, to sum it up very quickly for those who are still asking on the stream, what on earth is going on? Well, we had a red flag incident. 3 cars collided. The red flags were brought out immediately. Alex Dunn did what he was supposed to do and bring his car onto the start-finish line. Andrea Kimi Antonelli in second place brought his car into the pit lane, which is what you do when the safety car brings you in on a red flag, not under race conditions. And everybody just followed him in. So all of the drivers in this race are going to have to report to the stewards after the race. They're all in breach of Article 39.3 of the regulations, and only Alex Dunn has got a clean bill of health in this race and a clean record. So how is this race going to restart? We couldn't tell you right now.
It's going to be very interesting. And just to reiterate as well, if the procedure was with the safety car and the yellow flag being thrown, then the red flag came out, then the cars were supposed to come into the pit lane. However, this red flag, we did not see the yellow flag come out, nor did we see a safety car board come out, at least from our position here. We didn't see them around the track either. And that means the red flag was thrown pretty much immediately while the track was green, which means the cars should have slotted into position on the in their grid positions underneath the starting gantry. Now, there seems to be a few cars being moved around in the pit lane, so it looks like some drivers are not where they should be either. This is probably going to cause even more confusion.
Oh,
the sun is setting. We don't know when this race is going to start. We don't even know who's going to be where, because actually now, one of the cars looks to be being pushed in the garage. That is... No, they just moved around. That's kind of a 41 that's being moved around. That's Michael Shin, isn't it?
It is. Well, every single driver in an F4 series anywhere in the world now is watching this going, right, if it's gone to red flags, line up on the grid. Because they know now they're not going to do this again. If they've been brought in under safety car, they go into pits. If it's a normal race, that's not how it's going to happen. So it's going to be a really tough situation for the competitors as we go racing again. So we will basically wait to see how it goes. Now, we've got a copy of the rule book here. So if competitors let's have a look. When the signal is given, overtaking is forbidden. The pit exit will be closed, and all cars must proceed slowly to the starting grid. The first car to arrive on the grid should occupy pole position, and others should fill the remaining grid positions in the order they arrive. That's what it says in the rule book. So essentially now, the onus is on the officials and the organisers to figure out what we do on the restart and to get the race running once again. But whatever happens, we know that it's going to be the Irish driver Alex Dunn that will lead them as they go back around.
Well, that's a good sign. I just heard on the air horns go off in the pit lane, which means we should be going green flag racing. Now what we need, Jake, is the next page of the rulebook that says what happens in a case where the leader has gone through onto the correct position, into his grid position on the starting line, and the rest of the field have gone into the pit lane.
So we are paused under red flag conditions now. Let's give you an idea of what the championship points are while we wait for this, because this race could have a significant impact on that. Charlie Wirtz has come into this race as the championship leader. He is 12 points ahead of Aidan Neate. Charlie Wirtz has 142 compared to Aidan Neate on 130. Taz Interfuvazak has 118 points in front of James Wharton, the Australian, who has 110. His impressive performances in the first two rounds means that he's still technically in the fight for the title in the top five. Andrea Kimi Antonelli's brilliant performance at Yas Marina means that he's fifth in the standings on 96 points. Nikita Bedrin has been fairly consistent, although he did have a non-start in the fourth race at Yas Marina, so he has 93 points. Rafael Camara missed round one and yet still has 79 points. That's how strong the Brazilian has been since his comeback to the sport. Taylor Barnard is in 8th place on 55. Martinius Stenchon has 46. And Alex Dunn, the man who will lead on the restart, has 10th position in the standings on 41. He has a podium to his name. He got second place in the second race of the weekend back at Yas Marina a fortnight ago. So he does have a podium to his name. Sorry, no, my apologies. That's his teammate that has a podium to his name, isn't it? That's Oliver Gray. So Alex Dunn has yet to score a podium in this championship, never mind a race victory. His highest finish of the season so far was 4th in race 1 at Yas Marina. So this is a great opportunity for Alex Dunn to take a victory. Now, how are they going to restart in terms of the order? Well, I'll tell you what the order is going to be on the restart based on when the red flag flew. It'll be Alex Dunn that goes away first, and then Andrea Kimi Antonelli ahead of Martinius Stenchon and Luke Browning. Charlie Wirtz will be ahead of Suleiman Zanfari. Aidan Neate ahead of Tazanapol Intrafivazak. That's an interesting combination between those two. Then it is going to be Nikita Bedrin ahead of Rafael Camara, Valerio Rinicella and Ivan Dominguez, and then Christian Ho, Nikhil Bora, Jamie Day, Ricardo Escotto, Joseph Loke, Sohail Shah, Brando Badua, Yash Aradja, Taylor Barnard, Jonas Reed, Michael Shin, Robert Dehaan, Jem Birombakti, Anshul Gandhi, Miron Pingazov, Ismail Ahmed and Jeff Makiels. The two cars that have retired are Vladislav Ryabov and Victoria Blokina. So they will not take up the restart. The remaining 29 cars will, which actually includes Anshul Gandhi. Now, another interesting point to pick up on here, Anshul Gandhi was in the incident that brought out the red flag. He was able to get going again under his own steam. Now, I can't remember on the rules of that, but I think he should be allowed to restart, if I'm right. If I'm wrong, then he might not be able to.
Well, he's at the tail end of this queue here in the pit lane. Now, he was, as we said, he was able to get away under his own power as well. And it looked like he was kind of further away from the two that actually collected one another. So he may have just spun, and then the other two may have just got caught out by that driver spinning out as well. But we keep hearing horns going off in the pit lane, so we should get started soon enough as the activity is now sort of quietened down in the pit lane. However, there's a few cars that appear to be out of position. There is one of the Prema cars. Now, is that Charlie Wirtz that's out of position? Actually, no, I think that might be Rafael Camara's car. There's a HP. Oh, we're going green. We should be going racing this time round. The engines are being refired.
Yep.
We're about to get underway, and we're going to finally get an answer to what's happening now, because it will be Alex Dunn at the front of the field, obviously, because that's where he was when the red flag came out. But what happens now? Does Kimi Antonelli slot in behind him with the rest of the field when the safety car comes by, or do they have to wait?
Well, it's tough to know, actually, because in other situations when this has happened, the one or two drivers it's affected would start from the pit lane after everybody else had gone through. So I just couldn't tell you. I just couldn't tell you what the situation is going to be here. We'll just have to watch and observe how this race restarts. But it's definitely a scenario that is very tough to predict. It's very tough to put a rule in place for, because essentially this kind of thing has to happen for a rule book to be in place. But there goes Alex Dunn on the grid. He leaves away with the safety car. So Alex Dunn is now in position and goes past the pits. And we will wait to see what happens. There are countless marshals, and they're not leaving the pits.
No, they're not, Jake. And I hate to interrupt you here, but the safety car has taken Alex Dunn away, and that's it. They've driven past.
Oh, now they're being allowed
released. Out. Okay, I assumed that Alex Dunn would be allowed to go past, and then once the safety car is peeled in, that car would come into the pit lane. But then also that would mean that Kimi Antonelli would be a significant margin behind him.
Well, you know what this means, actually. What I think this means, essentially, is that what they have decided to do under this situation is the officials of the F1 UAE Championship have decided to allow a little bit of grace here, because it looks to me as though they're going to send them out. They should be able to get back into line behind Alex Dunn. Yes, they'll need to report to the stewards. Yes, they'll need to take their plaudits from that. But it looks to me as though what the F4 UAE Championship stewards have decided to do is allow a little bit of grace, allow a little bit of a moment here, because obviously the cars will go out onto the circuit. Alex Dunn will be allowed to lead from the front as expected and as normal, but the other cars in the field will obviously have to stay in position, but they are allowed to race just behind Alex Dunn. So I would assume that that's how it's going. Now, the timing screen in front of me shows that Alex Dunn has completed 3 laps. The rest of them have completed 2.
So that would mean he is actually a lap ahead.
Well, we don't know if that's going to be corrected or not yet, so we obviously have to take that into consideration as well. So this is an interesting situation, but we have to allow the race to continue in its obvious position. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. There's no point criticising anybody for anything at the moment, because obviously this is an unusual situation and a very strange scenario. So what we have to do here is observe what happens, allow the race to play out, and then everything, all of the conversations and all of the situations and scenarios will take place after the fact. But all of the cars do appear to be making their way around, and they will form up behind Alex Dunn. So it looks to me as though an air of grace and a little bit of leniency has been allowed here by the officials. They are 15, 16, 17 years old. Let's not embarrass them. You are allowed to be human. You are allowed to make a mistake, especially when a good collection of these drivers have not been out of karting very long. So it's an unusual situation. We will have to see how this race plays out. But the safety car, it looks like yellow lights are still on. So they're going to come around again. Are we going to go for another lap behind the safety car to get people in position? I think that might be exactly what we're doing, because the safety car is coming around again. I think they're going to form. I think they're going to do one more exploratory lap around the course.
And Alex Dunn's 3 laps. Sorry, Jake, to cut you off. Has just been corrected.
That's why they've done it. They've had to delete one of Alex Dunn's laps and then obviously bring them around again so that they're going to be on the same lap. Do you know what? That's a tough decision, but I do think that's the right one, because obviously, you know, these are young drivers. They are still learning. They are still making progress. It's a weird situation, but you're allowed to make a mistake in this world, and too many people punish people indirectly for something that cannot necessarily be helped. So I will actually applaud the F4 UAE stewards here for saying, do you know what? Let's chalk it up to experience. We'll have a talk about it later. Don't do it again, but we're racing enthusiasts. We love motorsport. Let's race.
But I can only imagine the talk might be slightly different now if Alex Dunn loses the lead and, well, High Tech GP doesn't get the win and a different driver gets the win. I could imagine the boot might be on the other foot there, Jake, because I think they might protest this and say, well, we did it right, they did it wrong. Where's our, benefits? They should be penalised for what's happened. Yes, they're young and they're up and coming and they're learning here, but at the same time, they have broken the rule. They have broken a code in the rule book, which means that, well, we know that all of them are being summoned to the steward's office. But like you said, Jake, let's wait and see what happens now, because we should be going green this time round. We'll keep a close eye on the top of the safety car right there. We'll see if those lights go out on the top of it to see if we're going green this time round.
So around the course, the drivers will go, and Alex Dunn will be leading on the restart. In second position, it will be Andrea Kimi Antonelli, then Martinius Stenshon and Luke Browning from Charlie Wirtz and Suleiman Zanfari, Aidan Neat, Tazin Tafavazak, Nikita Bedrin, and Rafael Kamara Now, this is interesting. They have decided to penalise the drivers. A 5-second time penalty will be added to all cars except car 4 for breach of Article 39.3. So every car behind Alex Dunn will be getting a 5-second time penalty. That is such a bizarre scenario.
It certainly is, and it makes things very interesting here as well, because no matter where any of the drivers are on track, they're all going to be essentially 5 seconds back as well. This is great news, though, for Alex Dunn, because all he needs to do now is finish more than 5 seconds ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Or better, actually, no, he can finish 4.9 seconds behind Antonelli and still win the race here. So he hasn't got too much to worry about, but I don't think it's good. We're going green flag here. Alex Dunn has got the jump on Kimi Antonelli, and he's going through turn 15 now. We've got the restart underway. What can Antonelli do now? Can he find a way through it? Can he add 5 seconds of a gap between himself and Alex Dunn? I don't think it's going to be that easy as Dunn is working his way through the final corner, and away we go once again.
So we're racing, and it is Alex Dunn who leads the way. Everybody else is going to have to be 5 seconds ahead of him. But Alex Dunn is your race leader for the moment. Antonelli in second, Stenshorn, Browning, Wirtz, and then Zanfari, Neat, into Fivazak and the rest. And they're going side by side into Fivazak and Neat into turn one. A big lock-up from one of the MPs. That looked like Suleiman Zanfari and into Fivazak getting side by side. That is one of the PHMs. I think that is Nikita Bedrin trying to shake off the attentions of his opponent. Joseph Loke is having a nice little battle there with Taylor Barnard as they go through turn 1 and 2. So this is going to be an absolute thrill fest now for the remaining race laps. And we are told that the time has started ticking down under the safety car. So the time to go in the race, as I look at it, is 12 minutes and 48 seconds. So we are going to have a decent amount of racing all the way to the flag. And look how quickly the sun has started to fade over the circuit here in Dubai as Alex Dunn leads the way. Kimi Antonelli is there in second position, and there's some great battles going on further back. So let's see how the race plays out in the closing stages of this battle. They continue on their way through, trying desperately to stay out of trouble, as they've still got some racing to do here, and they've still got to be very careful how they go about this. And it's side by side, battling for position in the mid-pack. This is the move from the PHM car up the middle.
And
so
that is Bedrin.
That is Bedrin, yes. He's going wheel to wheel with Inter Fivazak. So Alex Dunn is still your race leader. Antonelli second. There's a bit of an incident further back by the look of it.
And that was through turn 12. Two cars sort of went off into the runoff area. Didn't quite catch who that was. But Alex Dunn managing to control the field now, and he's staying up ahead. We've got a great battle brewing further back here as well. This is sort of towards the tail end of the 10th position, and that is Nikita Bedrin in 9th.
There was some debris kicked up there by Andrea Kimi Antonelli as he came through turn 15. So something is not quite right. But Alex Dunn is your leader as they come across the line. Then Antonelli, a little bit of a gap back to Stenshorn. Browning is in 4th place. Then it is Wirtz, Neat, Bedrin, Interfivazak, Kamara and Zanfari. But there is going to be a bit of pressure here on several drivers in this field. Antonelli will want to get past Alex Dunn and go 5 seconds clear if any chance will come to battle away for position. Alex Dunn is your race leader, and he has set the fastest lap of the race at 2:02.359. But he's got a lot of pressure underneath him as Antonelli is there in second position, trying to make a bit of an impact. Alex Dunn locks the brakes, and up the inside, that's a big lunge on Browning from Charlie Wirtz. So Charlie Wirtz trying to get up alongside Luke Browning there. But is he going to be made the position? One of the MP Motorsport cars is slowing in the background. Now, I wonder if that's Miron Pingasov in trouble again, because he's had all sorts of bad luck this weekend. And it does look like it's one of the MP cars that's dropped out there at the back of the field. The race continues on as Antonelli is trying to get close to Alex Dunn. It's hard to see the cars in this light, actually. But on the inside, that is the two Premers going wheel to wheel. That is Neat and Wirtz.
And I think the two cars that went off at turn 12 is Kano 52 and 41. And it looks like Biram Bakdi has gone out of the race as well. It's been shown as a retirement for the number 6. Not sure why that's happened for that car. But We are racing here again. Alex Dunn leads by 0.4 of a second. Kimi Antonelli is running in second position. Then it's 1.1 seconds back to Martini Stenshorn, who's running in third position, looking for another podium finish here as well. But he's being hounded by Luke Browning, who's 0.4 of a second back from him at the moment. Now, going back to the two that went off, the 52 and the 41, they are working their way slowly behind the rest of the field, but they have got going according at least to our timing screen here, as a big puff of smoke they're going through.
Little bit of contact. Sorry to cut you off there, Chris. There was a little bit of a nudge there from one of the PHMs on the back of a 3 wide by Race GP. So that got very close indeed, and that is Brando Badoa trying to chop across his opponents as they battle in the middle of the field there. I think that was Michael Shin just tapping the back of Taylor Barnard as they were going through together. So that got very close quarters for the moment, but we just about got through there without too much drama. But it is going to be a very interesting one as Alex Dunn gets another new fastest lap in under his belt. Joe Loke going for the inside of Brando Badoa. Joseph Loke gets the inside line. Brando Badoa is going to go the long way round, and he takes to the runoff area. He didn't want to concede the position there. So Brando Badoa is going to have to move over and let Joseph Loke through there because he's gained an advantage by going off the track. And there is a 3 wide moment nearly creeping up there as all sorts of dramas are battling away. Now, you've got to feel sorry for one driver in particular, Valerio Rinicella, who has dropped all the way to 13th place as into the pit lane to retire. That is Pingasov. I thought it was Pingasov. Now, Jembidon Bakhti has retired from the race as well. Here comes Antonelli making his bid on the inside of Alex Dunn. So Antonelli makes his move on Alex Dunn to make the overtaking move. But if you're Alex Dunn, don't panic. Just follow in behind Antonelli. He runs a little bit deep, but he wants to win this race on the road, so he's trying to keep Antonelli at bay.
So the team haven't informed him about that 5-second penalty just yet. They wanted to keep going here and keep Antonelli at bay, as there's a great battle between the two now as they're working their way through turn 12, now to the runoff area down towards turn 14. Antonelli on the inside through turn 13 before we get to the bowl complex here. Alex Dunn is going to come back from a way long back here. Can he go around the outside? No, he can't. He's going to have to slot in right behind Antonelli this time round, but he's going to try and fight back through turn 15 and think better of it now going down towards turn 16. Can he sneak up on the inside, or is he going to try the Ian Loggy way and go all the way around the outside? Looks like Antonelli has shut the door on him and is now starting to build the gap between himself. There's 2 car lengths separate the two of them when they come across the line now. We can see what the gap is. Kimi Antonelli needs a 5-second gap in order to win this race. He's got a 5/10 of a second gap between himself and Alex Dunn. What he needs to do is he needs to times that gap by 10. He needs to bring it up to 5 seconds to ensure victory here in race number 4 and deny Alex Dunn his first victory. But as long as Alex Dunn stays in close proximity, he will still be the winner, as Rafael Camara's across the line in 8th position and is fastest of all.
So he's basically got 7 minutes, Kimi Antonelli, to build a gap of 5 seconds over Alex Dunn. Otherwise, he is not going to get this win because obviously everybody has a 5-second time penalty except for Alex Dunn for breach of Article 39.3 for coming into the pits at the red flag when they should have parked out on the circuit, just like Alex Dunn decided to do. So Antonelli is your leader on the road, but Alex Dunn is still the leader in the race. And if Kimi Antonelli doesn't pull 5 seconds on Alex Dunn, then Dunn will be the race winner. So Andrea Kimi Antonelli is going to have to settle for second unless he can pull 5 seconds clear. And it's the same for every other driver in the battle. So Antonelli, Dunn, Stenshorn, Browning, Neat, Wirtz, Bedrin, Camara, Interfervazak and Ivan Dominguez, who has climbed up into the top 10. A bizarre situation here, but everybody's just got to try and make the best of it. For Andrea Kimi Antonelli, he has got to push and push like he's never pushed before. He's really got to go for that 5-second lead over Alex Dunn. If it's even a 1/10 of a second less than 5 seconds, then Alex Dunn will win this race.
And he's really, really losing him now, isn't he, Alex Dunn? He's losing sight of Kimi Antonelli as he tries to close the gap now going through the bowl, but he's losing a lot of time now to our race leader. Kimi Antonelli is off and he's trying to extend that gap. Further down the field, we've got a battle for 4th position. That's Luke Browning, who's actually looks like he's lost out to Aidan Neat, who now leads that battle for 4th position, because there's Martini Stenshorn, and yes, he has. Luke Browning is in 5th position, as one of the MP Motorsport cars there almost takes off the front wing of one of the cars further down the order, but that battle for 4th position is on. Aidan Neat's up in the 4th position. Luke Browning is 5th. Charlie Wirtz is 6th position. Nikita Bedrin is up in the 7th position. And Rafael Kamara still on the move here. He's gained 4 positions from where he started, but he's not making headroom as he's working his way through the order. Kimi Antonelli is now the fastest out there with a 2:01.118, and he's extended that gap by 0.6 of a second on that lap. With 5 minutes to go, he doesn't have enough time because that would extend the gap only to 4 seconds if he does it that way.
Well, Antonelli has managed to get the gap up to 1.1 seconds over Alex Dunn, and there are less than 5 minutes to go. He's really got to hope that he's got some real strength in this car and some real faith and wisdom behind the wheel on this Dubai Autodrome circuit. In the first 3 races of the weekend, he hasn't really been able to show this kind of pace, but now Antonelli has got to just keep pushing in front of Alex Dunn. Martini Stenchon is running in 3rd place ahead of Aidan Neat and Luke Browning. So here they come again, and Aidan Neat is going to try and make his bid on Martini Stenchon. He's got time to do this, so he doesn't need to rush the moment. Antonelli is pushing like stink at the moment. There's the time to go in the middle of your screen. 4 minutes 13 to go now. So they are running out of time.
They really are as well. But for Alex Dunn, he's still sitting pretty. He still is the leader, or he will be the winner of the race if it were to end this time round. But 4 minutes to go. Kimi Antonelli needs to really extend this gap, as now Martini Stenstrom is coming under pressure from Aidan Neat. That gap was 0.4 of a second at the line. No, it wasn't. It was 0.8 of a second at the line. That has come down to less than the car length as Aidan Neat into the braking zone of turn 14. Really closes the gap here on Martini Stenstrom, who of course is holding out for another podium finish. But Aidan Neat, he wants championship points because of course he is outscoring his championship rival and teammate Charlie Wirtz, who's down in 6th position, who's not been able to pass Luke Browning on this lap either, as Aidan Neat continues to apply the pressure through turn 16. The gap is 2 seconds. It's gone up by another 0.5 of a second on this lap. I don't think Kimi Antonelli is going to have enough time between himself and Alex Dunn to ensure victory, even despite that 5-second penalty, as it doesn't look like he'll have enough time. But 2 minutes 8:91, Andrew Kimi Antonelli in the final race of the weekend. That car is really coming to as Aidan Neat looks around the outside of Martini Stenchon, but Stenchon shuts the door at him and says, you're going to have to try again somewhere else. Better yet, you're not coming through here at all.
Well, if Aidan Neat manages to get into 3rd position with his teammate Charlie Wirtz down in 7th, then that's going to really make a big change in terms of the Drivers' Championship, because the gap between them is currently 12 points. If he gets 3rd, Aidan Neat will score 15. If Charlie Wirtz only scores 6 points for finishing in 7th place, then Aidan Neat is going to gain 9 points on his main rival Charlie Wirtz, and that means they'll only be 3 points apart going into the final 2 weekends of the championship. This is fascinating stuff. So Neat is definitely going for it on Martini Stenchon. He's going to draw level with him, and he'll go the long way round. Can he outbrake Stenchon round the outside? These two have already collected each other once this year. They ended up tangling at the end of one of the races last week on the Dubai Autodrome circuit, so they definitely want to stay out of each other's way again. But Aidan Neat is determined. He wants to get into 3rd position. Meanwhile, Andrea Kimi Antonelli has done half of the job to pull clear of Alex Dunn. The gap is up to about 2.5 seconds roughly, but Aidan Neat is pushing Martini Stenchon. So this is going to be an interesting one. Stenchon will force him to go right. So that's where Neat decides to place the car. He's going to commit round the outside. If he can hold it round the outside, he'll have a chance on the inside for the next corner. Stenchon is trying to squeeze him out. Neat will not be intimidated. They're going to wheel bang, and Stenchon will go out wide. And up over the curbs goes Aidan Neat. Stenchon rejoins alongside, and Neat is through. Good move.
And almost Ollie Gray's front end almost disappeared there as well. When oh, sorry, that's Luke Browning. Sorry, that front end almost got cut off completely by the Martini Stenchon car coming back out on track there, as now that is that Stenchon? No, it's not. That's further back behind. That's Nikita Bedrin actually, who's looking to pounce here as the two in front are battling, because that is Luke Browning who's trying to find a way past Stenchon. Aidan Neat's got through, and he's now starting to put a gap between himself and of course these two that are battling now. But Nikita Bedrin also sniffs 3rd position as well. He wants it here in his PHM Racing Team here car as he works his way through, all side by side there through the corner. How Luke Browning and Nikita Bedrin stayed off one another there, we will never know. But a fantastic run through the first sector there, and off goes Aidan Neat into the sunset so far. Out in front though, 2.6 seconds is the gap. We have less than a minute on the clock, and I think unless something happens, Alex Dunn will get his first victory here, and we'll have another unique winner, and we will spoil the Prema four-way win.
Well, Andrea Kimi Antonelli needs to push like crazy now, because that's the only way he's going to get this victory away from Alex Dunn. The 5-second penalty for every car, it actually sorts things out quite fairly, because they can still race, but they really have to do a lot here to get one over on Alex Dunn. They're still side by side battling away. Browning and Bedrin. Excellent racing between the two of them. Browning chops across the Russian. Don't even think about it. Wirtz and Kamara are now battling away. Oh, contact! That's Zanfari and Ho. Zanfari and Ho have come together then. They were battling just outside the top 10. Now, the race should still finish under green flag conditions, because it's on the far side of the circuit that's happened. So it'll be about Andrea Kimi Antonelli crossing the line first. But with that 5-second penalty that everybody bar Alex Dunn has to serve, then Alex Dunn should win this race. They come through. They're still battling. That's Kamara trying to go around the long way on Bedrin. Here comes into Fubazak. And watch as Wirtz tries to get past both of them. He's not going to manage it. So at the line, it's going to be Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He will take the win on the road, but Alex Dunn will take victory in the F4 UAE Race 4, and Hi-Tech celebrates Alex Dunn, the Irishman, his first podium, his first win. Get in there.
And another fourth victory for a different team that is not Prema Racing or Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema. History has certainly repeated itself. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way of PHM, but Hi-Tech GP, they get their first win of the 2022 season, as does Alex Dunn. A fantastic drive there from Alex as well to keep within that 5-second threshold. Interesting enough, Jake, that accident, or that incident that's happened, sorry, has actually happened on the exact same corner that gave us the red flag, as Andrea Kimi Antonelli is across the line, having completed 11 laps. He is your race winner on track. However, it goes the way of Alex Dunn due to that 5-second penalty.
On my timing screen in front of me, the 5-second penalties have been applied. Alex Dunn will officially be declared the race winner. Although it says on your screen, Andrea Kimi Antonelli has done it. On my timing screen in front of me, it is a win for Alex Dunn. So this is a bit confusing. Prema think they've won. Hi-Tech Grand Prix are actually the team that's won. So bit of a bizarre situation here. It'll all get sorted out when the cars come into Parc Ferme, because obviously they will position Alex Dunn in the P1 position, Andrea Kimi Antonelli in the P2 position, and Aidan Neat in the 3rd position. Now, what's interesting is that Aidan Neat finished 3rd and scores 15 points. That's almost accurate, except that Antonelli and Dunn are flipped reversed. Neat is 3rd from Stenshon, Browning, Bedrin, Kamara into Fubazak and Wirtz. Dominguez, Day, Renicella and Bora from Barnard, Escotto, Shin, Loke and Sohail Shah. And then you have Brando Badua from Jonas Reed and Shilgandi, Robert Dehan, Yashar Raja, Ismail Ahmed and Jeff Makiels. Retirements, Suleiman Zanfari and Christian Ho on the last lap. Pingazov, Bidambakti, Ryabov and Blokina that caused the original red flag. Now, I was going to pick this up. Aidan Neat has finished 3rd. That's going to give him 15 points. And Charlie Wirtz has finished 9th, and that gives him 2 points. And that means that Aidan Neat has just taken the lead of the F4 UAE Championship by 1 point. This is going to be a mega final 2 rounds.
It certainly will be, and it's interesting to know that at the restart we saw Charlie Wirtz and he was floating around outside the top 5, and we didn't notice this, but he slowly moved down the order.
There it is, there it is. Alex Dunn is parked in his 1st position. There is the confirmation. The Irishman is absolutely ecstatic as the team embrace him. Alex Dunn is a winner in the F4 UAE Championship. And that is the Hi-Tech Grand Prix team's first win of the season. That doesn't quite seem right to say that, but it is a fabulous result nonetheless, and a fabulous display. And what a great drive it was from the team and from their man. Excellent, excellent result and an excellent performance. What a drive from Alex Dunn. Great performance, though, from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And from Aidan Neat, he finishes 3rd, and he now leads the F4 UAE Championship by 1 single point. Alex Dunn, the flower on the podium is going to be a shamrock. Amazing. Alex Dunn in fantastic style. He gives Ireland the victory in the F4 UAE Championship. Yes, Alex, you've done it, mate. Brilliant job. What a stressful but sensational and exciting motor race that was. And a very worthy winner in Alex Dunn. He's worked so hard over these 3 weekends. Well done to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He won on the road, but he will still take 2nd place. And as far as we're aware, that is his last race in the F4 UAE Championship. I don't think he'll be continuing the season after this point. But he can go home to Europe with his head held high. He won brilliant races in the Yas Marina round at the start of the season. And he fought valiantly for that one. There's the new championship leader. Aidan Neate leads the point standings. He's there with his sister Ella and with James Wharton, his teammate, who has finished his programme from what we gather. But what an absolutely amazing drive from Aidan Neate to fight back to third position. He now leads the championship by a single solitary point. That's going to be a cool week for Aidan Neate as he walks around in the paddock. Yeah, I'm leading the championship. It's been a long time coming for Aidan Neate, and he has yet to win a race yet. So hopefully the confidence of this is going to boost him to the top of the standings permanently from his point of view, as he just keeps on banging in those results. So let's talk you through the highlights of what has been easily the craziest F4 UAE Championship race ever. Well, it was a tough start right from the get-go. Suleiman Zanfari out-dragged to the first corner by Martini Estension. The Premers were obviously on their A-game right from the start. Alex Dunn managing to get himself into second place and challenging for the win from the get-go. As he went round the outside of Stension, it was Alex Dunn who picked the lead and got it done in fine style. Antonelli having to concede places in the opening couple of corners. A few drivers having some shenanigans in the opening couple of corners, a little bit of wheel banging, a little bit of great racing. That's what the F4 UAE Championship is all about. Luke Browning holding off several competitors in the early stages. And then rather sadly we had the incident between Anshul Gandhi, Victoria Blokina and Vladislav Ryabov. How did Aidan Neate save his bacon in the opening laps by going off onto the sand on that point? But then we had the problems for the cars in the lower positions, as we would then have the three cars coming off the road. There were some great battles in the mid-pack as well, as the Mumbai Falcons got themselves into the mix in the midfield. Then the incident which brought out the red flags. Alex Dunn was the only one who followed the rule book and parked the car on the start-finish straight. Everyone else did their car and brought it back to the pits. So they all serve a 5-second penalty for breach of the regulations. On the race restart, Andrea Chini Antonelli challenged Alex Dunn to the hilt. There was some great racing behind and some monumental battles. But the drive of the day in the restarted race has to be Aidan Neate. How he picked them off one by one, including his main championship rival Charlie Wirtz, who would drift down to 9th place in the end, with Aidan Neate finishing up in 3rd, and that means that Aidan Neate becomes the new championship leader. Andrea Chini Antonelli made his bid on Alex Dunn. Dunn didn't panic, let it happen, and let Andrea Chini Antonelli take the position, because with the 5-second penalty applied, Antonelli couldn't hold off the Irishman. And it turns out that now we have a new winner in the F4 UAE Championship. Great racing from Aidan Neate, who fought valiantly with Martini Estension to get himself into the podium once again. But with a feisty and determined drive, Aidan Neate not only gets 3rd, but the lead of the F4 UAE Championship with just 2 weekends to go. It's going to be an amazing final 2 rounds at Dubai Autodrome next week and at Yas Marina 2 weeks from now. But we are in for an amazing show. Antonelli wins on the road, Alex Dunn wins on the timesheet, and Aidan Neate takes the lead of the championship. What a battle! So we're back to live pictures. There's a little bit of confusion down here in pit lane, but Andrea Chini Antonelli will be able to dash up to the podium to claim his 2nd place finish. The Prema boys are all down there. Once again, they have been denied the 4-race run. And for the 3rd weekend in a row, a Prema wins on the road in all 3 of the first 3 races. And the 4th race is taken by a different team. Well, Prema are still delighted. There is Andy Neate with the next member of the Neate Racing family, I'm sure. Natalie is there, so is Aidan's big sister Ella. Wow, the family can really enjoy the moment. He is the most consistent driver over the season, and he leads the championship by just 1 single point. What an opportunity that is for him. But for Alex Dunn and the high-tech team, it's a big moment for him. A great race and a great victory, and deservedly so. He's worked hard for that. But without a shadow of a doubt, the drive of the race, Aidan Neate, charging his way back to 3rd position, having started outside the top 10. He started 11th and fought his way through to third position. Magic. Absolutely stellar stuff from Aidan Neate. A great drive from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. A second place, he deserves that after a good effort in this race. But the winner, at last, is a high-tech GP. Oliver Oakes and the whole team are going to be absolutely delighted. They take the win, they take the plaudits, and it's going to be an amazing result for the high-tech GP team. And they can party on the podium as the Irish flag will be held aloft on the podium. And I'm sure the entirety of the Dunn family and all his legion of Irish fans will be absolutely ecstatic. Luke Browning comes over to congratulate the high-tech team. They take their first win, and his presence in the team really has been a bit of a game changer for the squad. Aidan Neate bouncing to the podium in third place. Yes, mate, you lead the championship. Second place, a great performance from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. But your race winner in race 4 of round 3 is the high-tech superstar for Ireland, Alex Dunn. Excellent stuff. High-tech GP take their first win in F4 UAE in 2022, and rightfully so. What a way to end the weekend. We are going to have an amazing final 2 rounds of the championship as the competitors come through. And here comes the rookie winner, Martinius Stenshawn. Excellent job from the Norwegian. So Martinius Stenshawn will get the rookie win in amazing performance and a great style from him. Well, it's been a terrific weekend here in the F4 UAE Championship. Our superstars have been amazing. They've put on a terrific show, and we'll get to do it all again next week when we go to round 4 of the championship from the Dubai Autodrome. More great racing to come from myself, Jake Sanson, and my colleague Chris Milbourne, and everybody watching here. Thank you very much indeed for watching. The F4 UAE Championship 2022 will continue next week with Aidan Neate as the new championship leader and Alex Dunn as the newest winner.